welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Be Blunt. You probably shouldn't back anything on Kickstarter or GameFound, right? I think that's the main conversation of this video. This is a video series we do about every other week where I take a look at the current running projects and, as quickly and concisely as possible, break down my best reason for backing them and my best reason against backing them. So if you're looking for, I don't know, just the gut check impression to either convince you over the side that you definitely should be getting a game, or that little bit of kind of the feeling that you have that maybe it's a bad idea, I'm here to confirm or affirm either of those suspicions. And like always, let's start by giving you a larger premise around why you shouldn't back anything, right? I mean, Kickstarter is one of these industries that absorbs you into the promise of stuff to come. And I find that a lot of people, myself included, have gone through this journey of backing and supporting and becoming obsessed with, and then you don't get anything for 2 years. So you spend 6 months paying out thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars and nothing arrives. There's no reward for that. And then by the time stuff arrives, you've changed your habits, your player group has moved on, the type of games you get to the table, what you like, your interests, all of those things have kind of refined and changed over the course of years. There's always a good game. There's always something out there worth playing. So don't back anything. Get your hands on things that are already acclaimed, already loved, already in genres that you enjoy, and spend the extra $20 or $50 to get the perfect game for you when it actually arrives. You don't need to always be chasing the beat. Now, that being said, I understand why you want to. Kickstarter exclusives, hot deals, fantastic games, being the first one to get access to them, there's a lot of reasons why backing makes sense. And it's a fun hobby that oftentimes you can get your money right back out of at the moment things show up. And I'd argue sometimes you can even make money in the process. There's businesses run on the idea of backing Kickstarters. It's a really decent investment if things arrive within a couple of years and you're able to tie up some money for a period of time. You could make 25 or 50% on your investment. Now, that's not why I back. I have a terrible habit of not being able to sell games, but it's not the worst habit that you can have. So, best reason not to back anything, there's already a lot of amazing titles out there, and by the time the game that you want arrives, the likelihood of you actually sitting down to play it with the same group, same personality, same life situation is drastically different. Best reason for backing this week, because it's a decent place to put your money, and you probably will get some amazing games that'll be harder to get access to later on, right? Things that are underrated or unknown, indie publishers, Kickstarter exclusive items, and all those other little kind of things that make it worth backing, worth supporting. So, what do we do in this series? In this series, I'm going to walk you through everything currently running on Kickstarter that I think's worth paying attention to, that I know anything about. I'm not going to cover anything that I don't know anything about. Well, I might still cover stuff that I don't know anything about, but I'm going to poke you through everything that we know anything about. I'll look back through my last slew of content, make sure that I cover anything that we've covered on the channel, and give you my best and worst reasons for backing them. Let's start by running through the channel first. Let's do that initially. So we're looking for Quackalope. Let's go here. Let's take a look at what we've covered since the last video, just to give you your highs and lows. Nightmare Cathedral. We did 2 pieces of content on Nightmare Cathedral. Really enjoyed it personally, and it's no longer available on GameFound. They might open up Pledge Managers, so I might as well cover this. Best reason for backing Nightmare Cathedral. It is a compelling and fun area control game with interesting action mechanics, and I think it plays really well at 2 players. Best reason or best reason not to back Nightmare Cathedral, I think it's more of an indie art experiment combined with a board game, and from my sense of things, it's the best reason to not back Nightmare Cathedral. I don't know that it does area control the best in the genre, and I think this is a genre that has a lot of other games that are heavily competing for it, meaning that if you're only looking for 1 or 2 great area control games, this one may not close the gap. If you're like me and you're looking for 10 in your collection, that's where this one might arguably fit in. So you got to judge it based off of your collection. Dark Quarter. Dark Quarter is currently over on Kickstarter. We'll swing over there in just a second. I'm sure that's when we'll cover. Far Cry ended up not actually existing anymore. I'm really disappointed about that. Like, I had a slew of content for Far Cry. I had a slew of content because, one, they paid me for like 2 videos, and then I did like 5 other videos. Do you know why I did 5 other videos? Because the game was a super fun. I really, really enjoyed what they were creating, and I'm super sad to see that the Far Cry community just couldn't see or didn't enjoy what they were creating. Yeah, in my opinion, that absolutely sucks. We will cover Dead by Daylight, Magic Puzzle, Veiled Fate, solo game, Bad Karma's closed. We covered it on the last one. Far Cry again, Marvel Legendary. Should you get an affordable game table? That's a worthwhile one. So let's talk about the Origins game table. I wonder if it's still running over on Kickstarter. It must be. We did a review here, an affordable game table. Best reason to back the Origins game table, it is a sturdy and reasonably priced game table that will come to you quickly. Best reason not to back the Origins game table, it does not have the degree of craftsmanship that you might get if you pay a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 more. So for me, I think there's little things that always bug me a little bit. Not being sanded in certain areas or the paint not being finished in certain areas that I would like to see improved. Arc Nova, my video being exhausted. Crokinole ASMR, that was April 1st. Dead by Daylight, Arc Nova again, Age of Rome has already closed, Tidal Blades has already closed, and the last Let's Be Blunt video, which was 2 weeks ago. So, let's swing over to Kickstarter. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at what I'm currently backing and talk about them first. Dead by Daylight. Best reason to back Dead by Daylight. Hands down, an amazing integration of a video game to a board game experience. I think they've done the video game fans justice, and in my opinion, all the people that are currently backing who aren't heavy board gamers are going to be introduced to our hobby in a fantastic way. It's easily legible, has great miniatures, and really does feel exactly as the theme of the game or the environment of the game displays. Best reason not to back Dead by Daylight. I think it can be unwieldy and unbalanced in certain situations, especially if you don't have a group of people that know how to counterbalance the environment of the game. And then along with that, I think the graphic design and the board layout for hardcore board gamers is a little lame. I really think they could have done a better job with the aesthetic of the game, although granted it's an IP, and I don't know how much freedom they had to create their own versions of stuff that was in that IP license. So, those are the 2 balance points for me. What else do we have here? Swinging back, I know we have the Dark Quarter to cover. Maul Peak. I don't know too much information about Maul Peak. Best reason to back it. Do you love head-to-head 2-player games that kind of resemble the Colossus video game in a way where you're climbing up giant beasts and scouring them? I found this one fun. The best reason not to back it is Skulk Hollow is already available. And if you haven't played Skulk Hollow yet, you don't have enough information to know if you'll enjoy this. So go play Skulk Hollow, get your hands on it, and that should be the determination as to whether or not you back Maul Peak. Maglev Metro, best reason to back. It's adding variability into a really lovely route building game with fantastic production quality, and I love the aesthetic and graphic design going on here. I think this one's really, really compelling, and I'm excited to cover it more myself. Best reason not to back it? Well, the argument would probably be something along the lines of Age of Steam exists. There's other train games, there's other route building games that I think do the mechanics of train games better than Maglev Metro does, at least in my first impressions. However, this is a great intro version into that genre, into that hobby, and I think the aesthetic will probably be a difference point for a lot of people. It doesn't have the same classic aesthetic that I think a lot of people associate with boring train games. But if you like train games, I don't know that Maglev takes the cake for you when it comes to something new in that genre. Dark Quarter. Best reason to back the Dark Quarter. This is some of, if not the best storytelling in games that I've seen in a long time. Really, really incredible app integration, and I was absorbed and compelled and wanting to explore the story throughout the entire duration of both of my plays of this game. Best reason not to back. Because the story's so good, I'm questioning whether or not the replayability is as solid as something like Destiny's was, and even there was a question, right? A lot of this is about the narrative pathways you take and how you discover your personal journey. I will play through every second of the full campaign, But I'm not convinced that I'll go back through and play it through a second or third time, even if I'm playing a new character and even if I'm playing with new people. How much they differentiate the character arcs and stories will really be the question point for me, and how many people I'm playing with. So, if you love narrative games, I think this is a no-brainer. That being said, I do think you're going to get one really incredible playthrough with it. I don't think you're going to dive back in a ton. So, keep that in mind. I guess the other critical thing would just be the nature of app-driven games, right? Although, again, it's the best app-driven game out there, or one of the best. It's the company that's producing the best quality app-driven games out there. So, if you're gonna start anywhere with app-driven games, it's got to be Destiny's or it's got to be the Dark Quarter. They're just done so well. After that, everything else is already closed that I have marked here. I have 2 RPGs that I have personally marked for myself. Old Gods of Appalachia and Flea Mortals. Best reason for me to not back those is because I don't get RPGs to the table. Best reason for me to back those is because they're super cool and I want to own them. Not a good reason, but reasonable enough. Let's check the journal here. Let's just go to Tabletop Games in Kickstarter. Mercurial. I actually don't know anything about this one. I wish I did. Seems like a lot of people are excited and supporting it, but I have little to no context, so I cannot help you here. It looks neat. DC deck building game. I was initially compelled by this, but I have so much Marvel stuff that I don't think I'm going to dig in. Birds of a Feather. I don't know that the game looks great. It does have birds in it, which would be the best reason to back it ever. Aldara. I don't actually know a lot about Aldara either. I think Alex has played this. I wonder if he has a quote or comment on here. We have Mark Street. There's a ton of miniatures in this game, and they're big and absolutely beautiful. I love the battles. It was a ton of fun. Has Alex played this? If he has, I'm sure there would be a link or a quote somewhere on here. And if he hasn't, I'd wonder why. Looks like we have some Rado stuff. I don't see anything. Now let's skim down to the videos, see who's been on this one. RTFM, Dice Tower, Rules Girl. We have Game Boy Geek, who does fantastic stuff. And then we have the standard company stuff. Cool. The game looks compelling, but yeah, I can't speak towards a lot of stuff that I just don't know. Right? I don't really see anything else initially here that is screaming out to me. Yeah. I think that's going to be about it. I think we're to the end of our cycle. Let's swing over to GameFound. Take a quick look at what's happening here. Talk about best reason to back, best reason not to back. Master Dater by Cyanide and Happiness. Best reason to back this game. It genuinely looks like a fun party game that does in the apples to apples style gameplay, where you're establishing the type of person you are and people are trying to compete with who would be a good match for you. I think, in my opinion, if you like either of the Cyanide and Happiness previous games, or if you're just a fan of the comic strip and you or the animated show and you get their humor, I think this one's probably a good value to back. Best reason not to back it. It's a party game. Little raunchy, little cringy in some ways. It requires other people to come up with their own sense of humor, and that can be very conditional as to whether or not you're going to enjoy it. Last Light. Best reason to back Last Light. I think it really does what it promises. It is a 4X game in a very, very short time period. Really had a lovely time playing this back on TTS over a year ago. Best reason not to back Last Light. I'm hard pressed on this one. Best reason not to back it. I want to support it because it's Roy from the Dice Tower. I think it does everything very well. I would say one of two things. I haven't always been convinced on the production quality coming from the publisher, so I'd be curious about that. And then the quality of customer service. And the other thing that I would question would be, do you play 4X games? Is that a genre you get to the table? This does 4X really well, but it is still 4X, right? Let's see here. For Northwood. Best reason to back For Northwood? Well, because it's a solo game coming from a publisher who's produced two of our favorite solo games ever. Black Sonata and Marquis. I don't know anything about it outside of that, but that is enough for me to be super, super compelled. Best reason not to back it? Well, it's a trick-taking solo game. Are you interested in a solo-only game? No matter how good it is, are you going to get it off the shelf and onto the table? And I think that covers everything we have going on. So there you have it. There's a Let's Be Blunt. There's a high and low across the board on the entire crowdfunding industry as a whole. I'm sure I will make some friends and win some enemies across the course of this video series. But yeah, why not? All right, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Whatever the case, whatever you do, have a good Passover, and I'll see you next time.